Welcome back, everybody. If you're even a little bit interested in AI, then you've been following the AI race between the US and China.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
but today we're going to look at something
Yeah,
that's changing everything.
it really is. It's not just about who's building the smarter AI. It's about who can build it faster,
Uh-huh.
smarter,
And
cheaper too.
yeah, and surprisingly cheaper.
Yeah.
And to help us with this deep dive, we have a recent article from the Indian Express.
Great source.
And this article is all about a Chinese AI startup called Deepseek. They've really come out of nowhere with this model that has just completely
Yeah.
changed everything.
It's captivated everyone. What's so interesting here is that they're not just competing with American companies like ChatGPT or
Right.
Meta's Llama. They're doing it for a fraction of the cost.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And this has really hurt Nvidia's stock price.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was the biggest single-day decline ever for a public company. And it's kind of ironic because Nvidia's stock soared after ChatGPT's launch,
Yeah.
but a Chinese AI company is what triggered
Right.
its biggest fall.
It's crazy how much things can change. It makes you think, what did DeepSeek do that was so different that's caused this seismic shift?
Well, they really kind of cracked the code on efficiency.
Okay.
They're showing everyone that you don't need a ton of expensive chips to build advanced AI.
So they're getting these results with less resources? How is that even possible? I mean, we always hear about how much computing power
Right.
is needed for AI.
Yeah, that's the big question.
Right.
And it really challenges all our assumptions about how we develop AI.
Hmm.
The Economist said that DeepSeek only used 2,000 kind of mediocre Nvidia chips to train their model,
Okay.
compared to Meta, who used 15,000 of the best chips for Llama.
Wow.
There's a huge difference in resources.
Yeah, that is a big difference.
Wow.
What are the technical implications of using fewer chips,
Right.
and especially lower grade chips?
Well, it could mean that they've got these amazing algorithms that are getting so much more performance out of less powerful hardware. Or they could be using some really cool data optimization techniques that reduce how much computing power they need.
So it's not just about using the best hardware anymore.
It sounds like DeepSeek is changing how this is all done,
It seems like it.
and we're seeing the effects of it. While Nvidia's stock was falling, there were gains in Hong Kong driven by Chinese tech giants
Wow.
like Tencent and Alibaba. It's like we're seeing this global power shift happening.
Yeah, it definitely makes you wonder if America is losing its spot as the top dog in AI. I mean, the Biden administration's been trying to slow down China's progress by restricting chip exports,
Right.
but then DeepSeek comes along.
And they don't even seem bothered by these limitations. It makes you wonder if those restrictions will even work in the long term.
Yeah, it could even end up helping innovation in ways we didn't expect.
Exactly.
Before we get too deep into the geopolitics of all this, I'm curious about DeepSeek themselves. Where did this company come from?
Oh, they have a really interesting background.
Oh, but yeah.
DeepSeek actually started as a side project by Liang Wenfeng, who ran a hedge fund called Highflyer.
Wait, a hedge fund manager?
Yeah.
So AI wasn't even their main thing at first.
No, it seems like back in 2021, Wenfeng started buying all these Nvidia GPUs, not to build AI models like we're used to,
Okay.
but to use AI to try and find patterns in the stock market.
So DeepSeek really started by trying to beat the stock market.
It did. It
Yeah.
really shows how innovation can come from anywhere.
It really does. This project that was just supposed to make money turned into this company that's changing the whole industry.
That's right.
I mean, it's crazy to think that a side project can just explode like that and have a global impact.
Right.
But what's interesting to me is how DeepSeek's success might influence the rest of the AI race, like for countries like India,
Right.
who are still trying to figure out where they fit in.
Yeah. The India Express article talks about this. There's this big debate in India right now about how they should develop their AI capabilities.
Yeah.
Should they build these large language models, which they call LLMs, from scratch?
Uh-huh.
Or should they use existing open source models?
And DeepSeek's success really throws a wrench into that whole thing. I mean, if they can get such good results with so much less money,
Yeah,
doesn't that change the game for everyone?
it does. The fact that they lowered the fixed cost of developing these models could change everything, especially for countries that don't have a ton of resources.
Yeah.
Now, India has to ask if they should even focus on building huge data sets from scratch.
Right.
Or should they try to find cost-efficient methods like DeepSeek did?
Right. And the article even talks about how people in India's tech community have different opinions on all this.
It does. It mentions Nanda Nilekani, who co-founded Infosys.
Right.
He thinks India should just focus on making apps and use existing LLMs instead of building their own.
That seems like a good approach given how expensive it is to build those models.
It does. But then you have people like Aravind Srinivas,
Oh,
who founded Perplexity AI.
okay.
And he thinks India needs to learn how to build their own AI models to really compete globally.
So it's like this classic argument about whether it's better to be practical or go for something bigger.
Exactly. And that's where Deepseek comes in.
Hmm.
Srinivas hopes that what Deepseek did will wake India up and make them rethink their whole approach to AI.
Uh-huh.
He thinks Deepseek shows that you don't need to be super rich to compete on a global level.
It's crazy how one company can have such a big influence all over the world. But before we get too deep into the global politics of all this,
Right.
I'm curious about what people have been saying about DeepSeek's success. Like, what did former President Trump think about it? He's always had a lot to say about how China's been doing in tech.
Well, Trump called Deepseek's arrival a wake-up call for American companies.
Oh, really?
He got how important it was that they were able to be so efficient.
Uh?
And he saw how that could be a real challenge to the U.S.'s place as the leader in AI.
So even someone who's usually pretty critical of China admitted that this was a big deal. Did he say anything else?
He did. And you might be surprised by this. He also saw DeepSeek's success as a good thing.
Okay.
He thought it could push American companies to innovate and compete even harder.
Yeah.
And that could lead to even more progress.
So it's a double-edged sword. It could push things forward or it could make the gap even bigger. What about Nvidia? They must have had some strong feelings about all this since DeepSeek's success really hurt their stock price.
Oh yeah, Nvidia was quick to say that DeepSeek had followed all the U.S. export rules.
Uh-huh.
And they said that people still need their chips, especially for the inference stage of AI,
Right.
which is where the trained models are used to make responses.
So they're trying to sound confident and show that they're still an important part of AI.
Exactly.
Huh.
But even though they're saying all that,
Right.
there's no denying that DeepSeek has shaken things up.
Right.
It's clear that the AI landscape is changing and the old rules don't apply anymore.
Yeah, it really feels like we're at this turning point with AI.
It does. DeepSeek's shown us that we can't just assume we know who's in charge when it comes to AI anymore. It's not just about having money and computers anymore.
Yeah, and we've seen how this affects everything, not just tech, but also the economy and global politics. And there's a chance we could see all this innovation coming from places we wouldn't expect.
Absolutely. DeepSeek's story really makes us think, what's going to happen next with AI? Will it become more accessible and bring in new people and new ideas? Or will things get even more complicated with all the different countries involved and how they're going to compete?
Those are some big questions. And I have a feeling this is just the tip of the iceberg.
It does feel like it. DeepSeek has sort of made things fairer for everyone.
Yeah.
It shows you can come up with amazing ideas no matter where you're from or how much money you have. As things keep changing, it's going to be really important to keep an eye on how things are shifting and who the new players are.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that wraps up our deep dive into DeepSeek and how AI is changing around the world. It's definitely a big moment where everything's up in the air and things could change in a big way.
Definitely. And this isn't the end of the conversation. We hope you'll keep learning about all this and thinking about what it all means and dig deeper into this tech revolution that's going on.
It's been great having you all along for the ride. Don't stop exploring and asking questions, and most importantly, keep learning. This is your host, signing off.